This is a Chevy Tahoe. It starts at $49,195. This is a Cadillac Escalade. It starts at $76,490. Besides being an SUV, what else do they have in common? They both run on the same platform, and it's something that's helping automakers churn out a host of vehicles that are similar in cost to build while charging a wide spectrum of prices to consumers. It's all based on a process called platform sharing, and it's something that's been going on for decades. Most people describe a platform in similar terms. We're talking about things like the floor pan, drivetrain, suspension and axles. So in short, when a vehicle shares a platform, it's essentially sharing the same bones. Let's take another example. When you hear someone say that a crossover is car-based, that means the platform it's built on is used by a sedan or hatchback, as opposed to a truck in the manufacturer's lineup. An example of this would be the Volkswagen Atlas. Volkswagen builds this mid-sized SUV on its MQB architecture, which is used for many other smaller vehicles such as the Golf and Jetta. This shows one of the major manufacturing benefits of these modular platforms, which is flexibility. And in Volkswagen's case, it's able to adapt dimensions such as height, width, and length to accommodate larger bodies while using the same modular platform. In short, the car may appear bigger, but the bones of these vehicles remain the same. But from a pricing perspective, platform pricing isn't limited to the same car company. Park the Mercedes GLA subcompact crossover next to an Infiniti QX30, and you'll instantly see the connection. Nor is the practice limited to outward appearances. If you try to apply the logic of design to our Atlas versus Golf case earlier, most consumers wouldn't ever realize the two shared a platform. This shows how tricky it can be to decipher which cars in a car maker's lineup share platforms. There are plenty of great reasons why manufacturers do such a thing. One we alluded to earlier is cost. Producing parts and chassis in higher volumes, like we see in the world of platform sharing, makes those vehicles more profitable. Most of the money is saved in the planning and development stages. The Center for Automotive Research explains why profit has so much to do with platform sharing. Quote, "Development of vehicle platforms is quite expensive, requiring a minimum sales threshold be achieved before engineering and equipment costs are recouped. This is a prime driver for minimizing the number of platforms in an OEM's portfolio and emphasizing global platforms to be able to produce the greatest number of units off common platforms and component sets." So in layman's terms, it saves automakers the hassle of reinventing the wheel for each different model, which saves on manufacturing costs, but also gives them the flexibility to craft different vehicles based on a similar blueprint and charge more to consumers depending on the specific model. This is especially true when the same platform is shared between pricey luxury models and more mainstream models that must strictly adhere to a specific price point. The manufacturing process becomes easier and more cost-efficient because there are fewer differences between these vehicles. Sourcing of parts and purchasing is streamlined for the same reasons as before. It's easily summed up with the age-old phrase, money talks. While all this makes sense from a car maker's standpoint, there are several drawbacks as well. For one, it can erode the reputation of a luxury car. People might be less likely to pony up for the luxury version of a car if they notice too many similarities between it and the more frugal choice. A variety of regulations and requirements worldwide makes building a single platform to be used globally significantly more difficult. A car company must design platform's entire architecture to be compliant with the rules in every market it intends to sell the vehicle. Also, a one-size-fits-all methodology has one other major drawback. Let's go back to the Volkswagen example. According to the Paris Innovation Review, the standardization of components implied by mega platforms calls for absolute perfection in terms of quality standards. One faulty piece, and Volkswagen will need to repair not thousands, but millions of vehicles. Regardless of these pitfalls to platform sharing, it's still going to be our future. A wave of electric cars coming down the pipeline will only lead to more sharing because manufacturers will be developing new platforms to hold their massive battery packs and electric motors in the most efficient way possible. It will be easier to get more cars off the ground if they use a similar and already proven architecture. Our opening example of the Tahoe versus Escalade illustrates the concept of platform sharing perfectly. If you examine both SUVs, it's no difficult task to see that the Escalade borrows a huge amount of parts from its lower-end sibling, the Chevrolet. Add enough options to the Escalade, and it can get expensive enough that a buyer could pick up 2 Tahoes for one Escalade, because the latter is seen as a luxury SUV. Savvy consumers will likely be able to notice similarities across brands that share platforms. But since the process of platform sharing equals profit for car companies, don't expect a departure from the practice anytime soon.